Travelers or ambassadors who have visited India at different times have left an account of their experiences in a book form, which can be considered as the foreign sources. First we will take up what are the native sources. Now, coming to the native sources, the first foremost important book which you can take as a source for history is Kautilya's Arthashastra. Next, which gives us a detailed account of the Mauryan administrative system. Chanakya, who was also known as Vishnugupta, was the prime minister during the time of Chandragupta Maurya. Gives us the detailed account. It is a treatise on the statecraft. Describes in detail about the administrative system. Nextly, we have other sources like Vishakadatta's Mitra Rakshasa, which is in a form of drama, narrates about the Chandragupta Maurya coming to power under what circumstances and how he became an emperor. Likewise, we also have Buddha's Ashwagosha's Buddha Charita, who lived in the court of Kanishka, and he gives us about the information about not only the life of Buddha but also it gives us about the conditions during Kanishka, some information pertaining to Kanishka. The next prominent sources are Bilhana's Vikramanka Charita, which gives us information during the Gupta's period. Then Kalidasa's Abhignana Shakuntala or Malavikarnamitra, which is a historical source about the Sunga rulers, about the Sunga dynasty. Likewise, we also have Gadha, Gadha Saptasati and Katha Sarita Sagara, which gives us information during the Shatavahana's period. Nitisara. Then coming to the Gupta's period, we have other sources like Bhasa's works, Shudraka, Bhasa, Bhartruhari, and of course the records of Charaka, Aryabhatta, and others. From this, we can know the development of science and technology during the Gupta's period. Coming to Harsha's period, Bana, who was the court poet of Harsha, wrote a book called Harsha Charita. Harsha himself was also a scholar who wrote books like Nagananda, Ratnavali, and Priyadarshika. These books gives us an information about the conditions of India and the religions and others during the Harsha's period. Likewise, we also have Talhana, who wrote a history of Kashmir, especially it is called as Rajatarangini. During the medieval period, we have other sources. These are the sources for the ancient Indian history. For the medieval period, we have other sources like Rasamala, Kirti Comedy, Hamiradi Madamartana, Vasanta Vilasa, and then Chachinama, which gives us about a detailed account of Arab conquest of Sindh. Then we also have Rajanath Dandin, who wrote a book called Dasakumara Charita, and which gives us information especially about the Pallavas. Then we have medieval period, another scholar by name Jayapala, who wrote a book called Kumarapala Charita, and another Prithviraj Chand Bardai, who wrote Prithviraj Rasu. Then Padmagupta and Jayanka wrote a book called Prithviraj Vijaya. So all these books gives us information during the medieval period. Coming to the foreign sources, we have Megasthenes Indica, the prominent one. Megasthenes Indica, who Megasthenes was an ambassador who lived in the courts of Chandragupta Maurya, sent by Seleucus Nicator, the Bactrian ruler. Megasthenes lived in Pataliputra, the capital city of Mauryans, and he also traveled around the city and wrote his experiences in a book called Indica, in which he says the society was divided into seven groups or stratas depending on the professions. He doesn't talk about the caste system, existence of caste system at all. Likewise, during the Gupta's period, the famous Chinese pilgrim Fahian visited the court of Chandragupta Vikramaditya. He wrote a book called Shaukauki, and in which he not only describes about Chandragupta Maurya but also gives us detailed account of the conditions of India, the rituals, the people's behavior, the standard of living, and his own experiences. During the time of Harsha, another Chinese pilgrim by name Huinsong visited, who was honored by Chandragupta Maurya. Huinsong traveled not only the court of Harsha, but he also visited the court of Chalukyan king Pulakesin II and Narasimhavarman, the Pallava ruler in the south. So since he traveled throughout almost the whole of India, he narrates his experiences in a book called Siyuki, which is considered to be his another primary source for the 6th century CE. Chachanama and others narrate gives us an account about Arab conquest of Sindh. Likewise, Periplus of Erythraeans, a book called Periplus of Erythraean Sea, gives us the conditions of India, especially South India, during the Shatavahanas period, and he also mentions about the important ports and trading centers. Now, coming to the archaeological sources, we have archaeological sources like inscriptions, coins, archaeological remains, or which are also taken as skeletal remains, then numismatics and epigraphy. The study of inscription is called as epigraphy. The study of coinage is called as numismatics. Besides this, the remains of cities, potteries, art pieces, artifacts, monuments, temples, etc. also are taken as the source for history. Among the epigraphs and inscriptions, the prominent one are the Ashoka's inscriptions at Barhut, Sanchi, Samudragupta's Allahabad Prashasti, Karavela, who was the king of Kalinga, got Hatikumpha Prashasti inscription inscribed about his achievements. Likewise, Nasik inscription tells us about the Shatavahana ruler Gautami Balasri. Girinar inscription tells us about the Shaka ruler Rudradaman, whereas Aihole inscription gives us in the achievements of Chalukyan king Pulakesin II. Diopara inscription tells us about the Gupta rulers Skandagupta and the Sena ruler Vijayasena. Then archaeologists also have unearthed several coins pertaining to different periods like Alexander's coins, Greek coins, coins pertaining to Ashoka and others. All these coins are were issued in gold, silver, copper coins, and these gives us valuable information about the rulers, the dates, figures, the gods, which they were gods and goddesses which were worshipped, and most of these coins were issued by trading guilds. It also tells us about the trade and the rules and other things. Likewise, during the stupas, which were built during the time of Ashoka onwards, prominent stupas are the Shanti Stupa, Barahut Stupa, Musky Edict inscription, the Karle cave temples at Karle, Kanheri, the cave temples at Ajanta and Ellora. These cave temples gives us information about the gods and goddesses and also the paintings, the art and architecture, which is incredible. Besides this, the remnants of other buildings, then idols, wall paintings have helped us to know about the culture and civilization of India at various periods. So all these stupas, wall paintings, pillars, statues, ornaments, etc., found at different places gives us an idea about the Indian culture. Clay seals, pots at different places, which were specially excavated at various sites pertaining to Indus Valley civilization, also gives us the authentic sources, information about the, the concerned period. Of course, there is a shortcoming in the sources that they don't give us exact dates as such, which has to be decided by ascertained by the scholars as per the carbon dating theory corresponding it to the Christian uh, BCE or BCE CE, that is Christian Common Era. So likewise, and since the India is a vast country, most of the information are regional, so it has to be synchronized or collaborated with other parts to compose the history of India as a one unit as such. So these are the various sources pertaining to the during the medieval period. We have many travelers like Ibn Battuta and others from where they give accounts, and due from the medieval time onwards, since most of the sultans and Mughal emperors had appointed court historians, they had chronicled the events and the achievements of the kings where there is not much difficulty to fix the dates and to collect the information. Of course, one of the things is that since most of the sources during the medieval period are in Persian or Turkish language, it had to be translated. And recently, in the recent past, there is a shortage of people who have a knowledge of Persian and other languages, but scholars are still continuing the effort to translate them and to give us information. During the British period, as is this, the information becomes, collecting of information becomes very easy. Like most of them are found in the diaries, chronicles of the East India Company and other ruler chroniclers. So since then, it becomes a very in this. All these things could be possible only because of the study of Indology during the 19th century by the British East India Company servants, especially Sir William Jones, who was the pioneer in establishing Royal Asiatic Society, which began to study the study of Indology, and which made it possible to make excavations or study about other things. Furthermore, the establishment of Archaeological Survey of India by Curzon also helped in the study of the study of history of India. Especially, we have scholars like Robert Sewell and others who wrote a book called Forgotten Empire after visiting Vijayanagar, Hampi, and other places. So the the discovery of sources, mostly the credit goes to the Britishers as such. Thank you.